Hi there, my name is Ben Thompson, audiologist with Treble Health. Today I'm joined by Melinda. This is Melinda's second time sharing her tinnitus story here on our YouTube channel. 6 months ago, we posted another video where Melinda was a few months into working with us and started to experience relief. We'll let Melinda here tell her full story in just a moment, but some of the comments on the first video that we released were very helpful, positive interview. Thanks so much for the hope. Congrats to Melinda. Keep going. So we want to showcase how the tinnitus recovery process takes time and it really is a journey. So you can feel better at the beginning, but also what happens 3 months, 6 months, 12 months later. And with that, Melinda, could you please give us some backstory of how you got here and what's happened between when this tinnitus began and now? We'll start there.
Yeah, I sure can. So my tinnitus started in June of 22, so a little less than a year ago. I had a surgery unrelated to my brain or ears, and all of a sudden one day I was sitting in my living room and realized my ears were ringing. I actually thought there was something in my home going wrong. So I looked around, and then I'm a pretty reactive person. So I quickly realized that my both ears were ringing. And then I started to panic. And the more I panicked, the louder it got. And then I really didn't know what was happening. I actually was concerned that I was having a stroke or something because I had just had a surgery and I had never experienced this before. And so I really did not know where to turn. That led into, I did take some trips to the emergency room, ask, what am I going to do? What's happening here? Do I need an MRI? Which I didn't do at the time. They said, you're fine. It's ear ringing. You just need to get used to it. And I'm like, I'd go home. It wasn't getting any better. And I was having rolling panic attacks. Pretty much was staying in my bedroom. I work from home, but I was having a hard time reading. I couldn't drive my car. I was having trouble to take care of my children. Could not sleep. I lost 20 pounds in the first 2 months of having tinnitus. And then I went on, I don't know if Ben, you want me to get into that now, but I did go on to try some audiology efforts. But I'll admit, I was really questioning if I could live with this. I was in a very dark place. I went into a very dark place of depression and anxiety. I had gone to the airport to go on a trip for work. I could not get on the airplane. I had a panic attack at the airport. I had to turn around and go home. And I was completely annihilated. I had no idea what I was going to do the next day. So that's how
Mm.
it started.
And thank you for sharing that. I'm so sorry it happened that way. Fortunately, things have turned around eventually. So, how did you end up getting help and end up finding our team? Because the only reason that I'm introduced to you is because you found Treble Health, our online telehealth service, and you worked with Dr. Tracy on our team. And that's how we got connected. That's why I know your story. Tell us about just a quick refresher on what kind of help you got immediately and in those first weeks and months. What did you experience?
Yeah. So the doctors in the emergency room and the doctor that did the surgery were not helpful at all. They were actually quite callous. And I was shocked. I was like, people are like, it's no big deal. It's just ear ringing. And I'm like, no, this is serious. Like something's really wrong. So then I got on a wait list for an ENT. So I did lose some time before I found trouble, but I got on the wait list for an ENT. He also did a hearing test, which was good. I'm glad he did that. But he said, funny, strange things happen. There's nothing I can do for you. You need to get used to it. Once again, walked away completely defeated. I then was just searching and searching locally, not thinking from a telehealth model. I found an audiologist locally. I went in and he was kind of confused by me. I said I'd heard of these maskers somehow on the internet. And he's like, I'll order one, but it's not. Because at that point, I should add, my left ear stopped for no apparent reason, stopped. So my right ear was still really bothersome. So I asked him to order one device. And he didn't know how to program it. So when it came in, I lost another week or two. He didn't know how to program it. So I was sitting with him, I'm not an audiologist, trying to program this device and almost in tears because I knew that there was something there that could help, but he didn't know how to do it. And so I walked away that I had one device in a right ear that had white noise in it, but still defeated. And then finally, I had an epiphany somehow, and I was searching and Treble Health popped up and it led me to the YouTube videos. And I'm like, yes, this is it. And I actually didn't think it was real. I didn't think you guys were real. I thought, can this really be the case? So then I called and I got in with Dr. Tracy that afternoon. I think we had a phone call, 15-minute phone call. And after that, I was like, finally, somebody knows what they're talking about. Somebody knows how to help. There's a local retraining therapy program here in Minnesota, but they're on a 6-month wait list. And it was in person, also very challenging to get into that program. And I don't even know, I haven't heard much stats out of their program either. So So that's why I found Treble.
Yeah. This is a short interruption from today's video to announce the tinnitus quiz. If you're watching this video, there's a good chance that you or someone you know has tinnitus. We know how much tinnitus can impact your daily life, and we're here to help. Visit tinnitusquiz.com and take a 2-minute quiz to receive personalized treatment plans that have helped hundreds of people learn to manage their tinnitus. Start now at tinnitusquiz.com. And as part of working with an expert, we want to quantify, we want objective data to analyze, okay, how severe is this tinnitus, right? Obviously, you can tell us, on a scale of 1 to 10, it's this bad. It affects me in these ways. In terms of how we measure tinnitus, we use the tinnitus functional index, and we measure that from 1 to 100, and that gives us a score, 100 being the worst, 1 being the best, 100 essentially being the most severe tinnitus, 1 being essentially no tinnitus. So with that in mind, I had asked your permission before, just so everyone's on the same page here. When you first got in contact with us, when you first started to work with us, you given me permission to share these scores. So the first score that we measured was 76 out of 100, and that would be categorized in the very big problem range. The sub scores, the sub categories that were most affected here include a sense of control, sleep, relaxation, and the emotional reaction. So does that sound about right? That those areas were the parts of this tinnitus experience that were the most intense and really were driving the challenge here?
Yeah, I was scared I was going to lose my career. I was scared I couldn't take care of my children. They did give me 4 different medications, and then I didn't know which one could be making it worse. I mean, it was really, really challenging. It's probably one of the most challenging seasons I've had in my life, and I've had some other medical issues, but this was definitely the highest and most frustrating experience I've had.
Okay, so it was a 76 out of 100 when you started working with us. A few months in is when we had our first video interview, and the basic message, I'll summarize, I'll paraphrase, was, I'm feeling better. Sound therapy's helped. Working with the expert care has helped. I'm not done, but I have a message to share that I'm feeling better. Could you explain a bit more about what happened in those first few months?
Yes, working with Dr. Tracy and the entire team. I actually worked with Dr. Ramsey and other folks too, just if someone was on vacation, but mostly Dr. Tracy. And I met with her weekly. And I had a very significant shift right away. It went from the chaos mode down pretty quickly because I was just looping, panicking, looping. And I just needed a relief. And I was panicking that I'd never, ever get relief the rest of my life. And so that's why when I started wearing the maskers, and I wore them 24/7 at first, and it just gave me a break to say, oh, wait, that's not the tinnitus. That's the sound I picked. Right? So just little glimpses of control. So I dropped the sound 3 times, or Dr. Tracy dropped the sound via telehealth, which is very easy, 3 times in the first couple months. And then, yes, I still had it, but it wasn't like at the chaos level where I couldn't function. So I started going back to church. I started traveling for work. So life slowly started coming back. And now I'm in a phase where I'm still making progress, but it is much slower. It's much of a marathon, not a sprint at this point. But I had immediate relief, just the hope from Dr. Tracy and following the plan and the therapy. I doubted it was going to work. I really did, to be honest, but I just did what she told me to do, and watch success stories, a lot of success stories on your YouTube channel. And that's when it really started shifting. I started with crickets and really intense noises, and now I've shifted to some different noises with Dr. Tracy's okay. So we can get into that, but I have shifted what I use. And I used to spend a lot of time in the app adjusting. And just yesterday, I didn't even know if I still had the app on my phone, the phone app, to be honest. So that just shows your brain wants this. Your brain wants relief. And I was fascinated when yesterday I'm like, Tracy, I don't even know if I have the app on my phone anymore. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a sign that it's out of your attention. It's less bothersome. It's less front of mind. That tinnitus score, right, from 1 to 100. So about 9 months after you started, working with us, and it wasn't all, we know that it wasn't all weekly appointments, but there was some space. Yeah. And typically, you start with more frequent appointments at the beginning, there's more space later. But 9 months after starting with us, the most recent tinnitus score that you had completed was a 16 out of 100. So that went from a 76, what will be categorized as a very big problem, down to a 16. Obviously, congratulations. We're so happy. We're very proud of this. This is, we're glad that life is better in this sense. What is it like today? Is the volume less than when it started? Tell us about how your experience has changed, how it affects you, and also just your perception of what does it actually sound like? Is it louder, softer, different?
Yeah. Yeah. So the day I took the TFI index, I was having slight ear ringing or tinnitus that day. But I will say I recently took a trip to Florida and I had 5 days where I don't want to say it wasn't there because I want to be very careful with my words, but I didn't notice it, nor did I feel any need to wear the maskers. Now, I've talked to Dr. Tracy about I should probably still be wearing them because at a low level to be careful because I'm very impatient. And so I've been in about 7 months. The first few months was just ordering and getting things oriented. So about 7 months I've worn them. And so, and then again, I had a little bit of a fluctuation when I got back because of the travel and just loss of sleep. And then now I've had recently another 3 days where it was almost non-existent. Like I had to search for it, but I try not to even do that because we talked about it's not super healthy to do that. And so the volume, I think we're down 4 times. And yesterday I'm down to the lowest bar again on the masker noise, the phonak masker noise. And so I'm not going to lower it again because it would almost be non-existent. So probably not everybody's story, but the volumes come down. The TFI score, the one that I'm probably scoring a little higher on is, do I still think about it more than about 50% of the day? Yes, because I'm very type A. And I'm still thinking about it, but there's big gaps of time. I either don't think about it, I don't hear it, or it's so low that I change my noise and I can put the maskers on, do something else, and I'm not obsessing, which is huge for me because I was completely obsessing the first 3-4 months into it. I couldn't break off the obsession I had of the ear ringing. So,
What helped you stop hyper focusing on it?
so I really struggled in the mornings. I would wake up and I'd hear it and I'd get really depressed, just instantly depressed. And I'm like, I can't do another day of this. And so what we did is actually, ironically, I had another device that I would use when the other ones needed to charge. So in the morning, I'd wear them when I slept, and then right away I would switch out to the one that had a charge in it. Sorry, the masker, and then I'd go right to the gym. I did that for a month or two, and that morning doom was gone. That was from Dr. Tracy because that was really, really when I was struggling. And then I would really struggle when wanted to go to a church service or something with my children. That's gone. I don't have it in public anymore. I used to just be blaring in my right ear when I would go out to an event, and that I don't have that anymore. The times I have it is my remote office here. I always have sound therapy on, plus my maskers, to be honest, as a backup. And waking up in the morning, it wasn't going to bed at night. It was waking up in the morning when like your mind hasn't caught up with what's happening physically. That's what would get me in the early stages every time.
Mm. Let's now put an image on the screen here of the 4 stages of tinnitus habituation. This image here that you see on the screen right now, this explains the 4 stages of relief that someone can experience on their journey towards full habituation. And Melinda, I'm going to ask you to comment here. We have stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, and stage 4. Stage 1 is where you started, where there was the highest awareness and annoyance of tinnitus throughout the day, frequent worrying and anxiety, retreating from everyday activities, often accompanied by loss of sleep and appetite. Stage 4, this is the goal, where tinnitus is rarely noticed. We can quickly direct our attention away from it. It no longer elicits automatic negative feelings or thoughts. So tell us about your specific timeline and what you noticed during these 4 stages.
So stage 1 for me, because I didn't know that Treble existed. Stage 1 was 3 months. I would say June, July, August were really, really, really challenging. And then I started wearing the maskers in September. And then I quickly went into stage 2 because it took the edge off and I had hope, and I would just keep reiterating. And I had a list on my computer of what I could do to calm my nervous system down. And then I would remember things that Dr. Tracy said to me in the process. And I really like the scientific data, and the Treble videos would talk sometimes about the number of people that would get help or would get habituated. So I really like that. So I stayed in stage 2 for probably another 3 months or 2 months, 2 months to be honest. So, and don't mind you, the first 3 months were not with Treble Health. So about 2 months. And then I went into stage 3, and I'm about 3.5 right now. I'm definitely stage 4 on some days, but I'm not fully where I want to be. And Dr. Tracy said there's a lot more progress. She feels a lot more progress to be made as I just stay patient. But so it's almost like I almost want to say it's been cut in thirds, 3, 3, 3. But I haven't been wearing the maskers that long, or 9 months. So like I said, I'm about halfway through into stage 4.
I was just reviewing some data on tinnitus treatment and how a lot of the effects, a lot of the habituation effects comes between 9 and 18 months. And you're really just about there. You're just entering that period. So
Yeah.
Dr. Tracy is right to say that although you've made a lot of progress, it's not, there's still some room, there's still some opportunity there. So to continue to be patient, continue to follow the protocol, follow the system, and understand that independent researchers have determined this period between, say, 9 and 18 months, there's a lot of gains that can still happen. So this habituation effect can go deeper and deeper and be stronger and stronger for you over the next 6 to 9 months. So hopefully that's helpful and reassuring, because most medical conditions, when we're talking about over 6 months of a treatment, we would say, I don't know, that just seems really long. Shouldn't I have already gotten better by now? And we want the treatment window to be as short as possible, but we have to acknowledge that, hey, this tinnitus can move slowly. So let's not write it off as being done and no more benefit. Let's keep going to make sure we get the compounding benefit of what you've already done. So I hope you've listened to this so far and been inspired. And of course, Melinda, we're really happy for you. And I want to personally say that your story is one of hope for many who are listening. So there is real hope out there for tinnitus. There are things you can do. Find us at Treble Health. We have a team of audiologists. We'd be more than happy to have a conversation with you and see if we can help you. So with that in mind, Melinda, we always want to be real, and we don't want to make it seem like, oh, no, tinnitus is no longer a problem in your life ever again, and it's 100% better. That's not necessarily what we aim for in terms of a goal for tinnitus. So give us some last comments on, realistically, what do you experience these days? Do you still have some tinnitus? How much better is it from your perspective day to day? And then any last tips for healthy living or for our listeners here?
Yeah, so I do have low grade tinnitus that I'm working through. Like I said, there have been days where it's almost silent. But when the days I have it, it's very manageable. Dr. Tracy really worked with me on some things specific to my life and what I could do. But it is, for me, there is a component on sleep. There's a component on healthy eating, because if I'm feeling better, I can handle my tinnitus better and I can let the therapy work better. I do go to craniosacral therapy once a week. That's really helped me. I was surprised. It complements the program, and just trying to stay calm. The meditations that Dr. Ben has out there on YouTube, I do those still just to practice. I don't want to get away from what worked to calm my nervous system in the beginning, because I just want to keep moving. Some days I admit that you have to find that spot in you, that grit spot in you where you can persevere, because some days it's really going to feel hard, and then just keep hope the next day is not as hard. So you really have to dig deep and keep running the marathon. That's my advice.
Melinda, thank you for sharing your story. If you found this interview helpful here on YouTube, please comment below helpful. And Melinda, let's check in another 6 months and see how you're doing then.